delta t has to be greater than the turn off time, which is the recombination time for the charge carriers to recombine. So, this turn off time, it has to be greater than the turn off time of the SCR, which is specified in the data sheet. This will be specified normally in the data sheet. So, you usually need two conditions. One condition has to be this delta t constraint, the other condition is pi root LC constraint. These two together you should be able to design this entire L, C and so on. Okay. So, this is a typical commutation circuit which is used for turning off an SCR. So, you know that to turn off an SCR is not an easy task. You will require a major auxiliary circuit for this. That is one reason why in DC AC inverter circuits as well as DC DC chopper circuits, generally SCRs are not commonly used because input excitation is DC. So, never are you going to reverse bias the SCRs very easily, naturally. So, SCRs are not used commonly in these two circuits because it is not going to be easy to turn them off. Whereas, if it is AC DC circuit and so on, automatically voltage will reverse, the source voltage will reverse, because of which commutation or natural turn off or natural commutation will take place, right. So, it is always good to use SCR in AC excited circuit, not good to use them in DC excited circuit. So, if we summarize, the turning on of the SCR mainly requires a few conditions to be followed. First, the device has to be forward biased, which means I am going to have V at anode is going to be greater than V at cathode. Voltage at cathode will be less than voltage at anode. The second condition is gate pulse should be given, which means gate terminal is at a higher potential. This potential will be higher as compared to cathode potential. Okay. The third condition is even after these are done, the current, that is the current flowing through the device has to be greater than the latching current of the device. The latching current essentially gets that name because the device will be latched into conduction only if the current is greater than the latching current. These are the three conditions for the turn on of the SCR. For turning off the SCR, at least two conditions have to be followed. The first condition is the current through the device, that is the anode current I am talking about, has to be less than the holding current. If I say latching current is somewhere around 10 milliampere, holding current will be somewhere around 9 milliampere. They will be very close to each other, there will be hardly any difference. But the anode current first of all has to be decreased to a value which is less than the holding current. Please note that is what happens in this commutation circuit case. Originally the current that was flowing was the load current. Now whatever is the current that is flowing in the reverse direction is the surge current due to the capacitor. This is I surge basically, right. This is going to be I surge. So, this I surge will be definitely higher than I load. So, overall current becomes negative. So, the first condition to be followed is the current has to be less than the holding current, maybe negative direction. The second condition is after the current decreases, right, we have to reverse bias. The device has to be reverse biased at least for turn off time. So, at least for TQ. TQ is the turn off time of the device specified in the data sheet. Turn off time of the device which is specified in the data sheet. Okay. So, these so much so for SCRs. Now, we have still not talked about protection of SCR. So, SCRs are generally slower devices, so it should not be too difficult to protect them. Against overcurrent, if you want to protect them, normally semiconductor fuses are used. Semiconductor fuses will be melting before the device conks out. So, I square T rating of the fuse basically has to be smaller as compared to I square T rating of the device. What I mean is the heat generated in the fuse will melt it much more as compared to whatever is the heat generated actually in the device. So, the device will not conk out. The second thing is di by dt protection. Di by dt protection is generally done by having a series inductor. The inductor will never allow the current to rise right away. So, normally if this is my device, in series with that I will put a small inductance. So, this will make sure that the current does not increase untowardly. The third one is dV by dt protection. If the dV by dt goes beyond a particular value, if dV by dt is greater than whatever is the allowable dV by dt of the device, then the device can turn on. So, the turn on can happen even due to this. After all, when you apply a large rate of rise of voltage, C dV by dt is generally I. So, any junction capacitance can be represented by the C. So, if by chance dV by dt is much larger, the current that is passing through any of the junctions can go way beyond the limit, which will automatically make the device on. So, you do not want spurious turn on of the device. That is the reason why dV by dt has to be within the limit. So, generally RC snubbers are used for protecting the devices against spurious dV by dt turn off. Let us take a typical circuit. Let us say I have probably voltage source, maybe 100 volts or something. Let us say I have a 20 ohm resistance, right, and I am going to have a thyristor here, okay. And it is going to be turned on and off. I am not really showing the gating circuit or I am not showing the commutation circuit. When this is turned off, entire 100 volts will come across the SCR. So, if I try to look at the voltage, this will be plus and minus, and 100 volts will come across the device if the current is going to be 0. If I is flowing, then there is no problem. If I is equal to 0, I will get the entire 100 volts right away. This can actually turn on the device, spuriously. It will not go off at all. Just to prevent this, what I can do is to connect an RC circuit. Normally a diode is also connected here. When a diode is also connected, it is called polarized snubber. So, during this condition what happens is, I am going to have essentially this 5 ampere flowing through the diode to charge the capacitance. So, the capacitance is going to get charged with plus here and minus at the bottom, right. So, this is R, this is C, but R does not have any role to play right now. So, I am going to have C times dV by dt, whatever can be withstood by my thyristor, equal to I, which is actually 100 volts by 20 ampere, which is 5 ampere. Let us say this dV by dt, which can be withstood by the device, is 200 volts per microsecond. I am just arbitrarily taking the value. So, I will have C equal to 5 ampere divided by 200 into 10 power 6. So, I am going to have essentially 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So, I am going to have 2.5 multiplied by this is 10 power minus 8 farads. So, that means 0.0025 microfarad, that is what I am going to get. So, if I choose a capacitance which is of the order of this particular capacitance value, I will make sure that the voltage across the SCR is not exceeding the dV by dt limit that is given by the data sheet. So, RC snubber or polarized snubber helps me to make sure that the capacitance is not gaining a voltage at a very fast rate. The capacitance is right across my thyristor. So, the thyristor will also not have a huge dV by dt. But what is the role of this resistance? That is what we will have to check also. I have turned off the SCR. Now, if I am going to turn on the SCR, please note the capacitance will try to discharge through the SCR. If I do not have a resistance, the current that will be flowing through the SCR, although it is in the correct direction, it is flowing from anode to cathode, this is going to exceed the limit. The I value will become extremely high. So, discharging current during turn on, right, that is limited. This is limited by R. So, I have the function of diode spelt out, I have the function of R spelt out and capacitance spelt out. So, this is essentially talking about RC snubber, right. So, with this we are kind of concluding our discussion on SCR. Now, the next device which is related to SCR which I want to take up is TRIAC. TRIAC is basically a 5-layer device and it is equivalent to a back-to-back connected thyristor or SCR pair. What I mean by back-to-back connected SCR pair is, I will have one thyristor connected like this, another thyristor connected like this, and they are connected in anti-parallel. So, TRIAC is exactly equivalent to this. Let me draw the symbol of TRIAC. The TRIAC symbol is somewhat like this. I am going to have one triangle like this, one more triangle like this, and I am going to have a gate terminal. So, one of them is specified as MT1, the other one is specified as MT2. There is no point in telling this as anode and cathode because the current can either flow this way or flow this way. So, there is no point in telling that this is the gate terminal. So, this is the symbol of TRIAC. This is going to be the symbol of TRIAC. The TRIAC is a 5-layer device I told you. So, we are going to have something like P, N and P. These are the 3 layers. Then I am going to have a N plus here and I am going to have one more N plus here. Okay. Now, my gate may be connected basically from here. This is the gate terminal. Let me call this terminal as MT2 and let me call this terminal as MT1. So, these are the 3 terminals that are available and TRIAC can be fired by having MT1 with respect to MT2 as positive and simultaneously gate is also negative with respect to MT2. Okay. Or I can also have MT1 with respect to MT2 as negative, which means MT2 is positive. At that point, gate is also positive with respect to MT2. So, I can have essentially any of them. So, gate can be positive pulse or negative pulse and it is always measured, let us say, with respect to MT2 and I am going to have essentially the TRIAC being fired in either direction. So, we are going to see that normally the TRIAC is going to be used in, you must have seen fan regulators, electronic fan regulators. So, in that TRIAC is very commonly used So, if you look at the electronic fan regulator, what we apply is a single phase voltage like this, and we are going to apply the voltage only for a short while like this. So, which means I will fire probably during the positive half cycle at some alpha and during the negative half cycle at some other alpha, which is pi plus alpha. So, I would see that normally the RMS value of the voltage is going to be controlled by either advancing this or retarding this. So, I will be able to control the RMS value of voltage and hence the speed. It is also used in dimming the lamps, either it is at home or stadiums and so on. In those cases, the triac is very commonly used for AC voltage control. So, let me probably conclude the thyristor topic by getting into what is known as a GTO. GTO stands for gate turn off thyristor. Okay. So, what we saw in the case of a normal SCR is turn off is very difficult, turn off is not easy, whereas in gate turn off thyristor we will be able to turn it off by applying a negative current, but this negative current will be a large current in the gate terminal. So, by applying a positive current in the gate terminal, which is a small current, we are going to turn on, whereas in GTO we will be able to turn it off by applying a large negative gate current. The GTO symbol is somewhat like this. I am going to have essentially this is the normal SCR symbol we see, but here the gate is going to have, one is going to show the current inward, the other one is going to show the current outward, and this is the gate, this is the anode and this is the cathode. This is how the symbol is normally, which indicates that the current can go out or go in to the gate terminal. Okay. The GTO actually looks somewhat like this. If I am going to see basically that this is PNP, I am going to have actually a N which is highly doped, and this is going to be actually my cathode, and this is going to be my anode, and this is going to be the gate. So, in this gate I have to make sure that the current can go in either direction. Normally when the thyristor is conducting, you are going to see that lots of holes are going to be here. Essentially by applying a negative current, you are going to evacuate all that hole. So, from the anode and gate regions, the carriers, charge carriers are evacuated by applying a negative current. One major problem we face with GTO is that we normally see that even after turn on in SCR, there is no need to retain the positive gate current, right. Once you give the gate current, it will just remain on, right. After that you do not need to give the gate current, but in GTO, for better reliability, if I want to have a better reliability, at least a small gate current, a small positive gate current has to be retained. This is one problem. Whereas, one more problem is in SCRs, normally you would see, if I look at I anode divided by I gate, this is of the order of 1000. the current amplification is really good in the case of SCR. Whereas in GTO, in the positive side, I would say I will have a current gain of 1000 approximately, which is I anode by Ig. Whereas if I look at the negative side, that is the turn off side, I am going to have I anode by Ig magnitude. I am talking about magnitude because it is negative current, will be only of the order of 5 or 6, nothing better than that. So, for example, if it is a 1000 ampere GTO, 1000 ampere rated GTO, I am going to require turn on current, gate current, right, is going to be only of the order of 1 ampere, whereas turn off gate current is going to be of the order of almost 200 amperes. So, you can imagine this 200 ampere is way too high. So, gate design, gate circuit design is going to get very complicated compared to an SCR. But the flip side of it or positive side of it is we would be able to operate at a much higher frequency. So, if I say that normally thyristors work only around 100 hertz, that is the normal operating frequency of an SCR, GTO can easily operate until 1 kilohertz, because normally if I compare the turn off time of an SCR, this will be almost 10 times the turn off time of a GTO. So, the operating frequency can increase tenfold. This is the advantage of GTO, right. But there are some new devices that have been designed by Mitsubishi and GE, which is known as integrated gate commutated thyristor, which is actually able to have an amplifier in the gate circuit. There is an amplifier in the gate circuit. This is a built-in amplifier. So, you can have lower current for turn off as well, and it is able to work very well. So, this is really becoming popular. This combines the advantages of SCR as well as GTO by including an amplifier in the gate driver. Okay. Now, we are now slowly moving to the transistors. So, let us start now with power BJTs. So far whatever we discussed, they were all coming under the category of thyristor. Initially we talked about diodes, then we talked about thyristor, right. Now we are coming to this bipolar junction transistor. This is exactly similar to the electronic transistor, but only thing is that most of the times we use only NPN, not PNP, because in this case majority carriers are going to be electrons, and electron mobility is generally better than hole mobility, and we are looking at very large current. So, that is the reason why generally we go for NPN and not for PNP. And normally we look at this in common emitter configuration, where I am going to give a base drive, and normally you must have known that transistors have 3 regions of operation. One is going to be cut off. Let me just draw how the transistor characteristics are. IC is plotted with respect to VCE. This is how the transistor characteristics are. So, I will have maybe for a particular gate current, this is how it is, another gate current it is going to be like this, another gate current it is going to be like this, and so on. This is how it is. So, let me call this as maybe IB1, this is corresponding to IB2, this is corresponding to IB3, and so on. Very clearly the collector current is increasing as the current is moving from IB1 to IB4. So, I would have IB1 as the least, IB2, then IB3 and IB4. If you look at this, there are distinctly 3 regions of operation. This is the cutoff region, this is the saturation region where VCE is almost a constant, and this is going to be the active region. Wherever I have written here, this is going to be the active region. In active region, neither VCE is very small nor ICE is very small. So, generally in active region, we see that device dissipation is large. If the device dissipation is large, that means I have to have a very large heat sink to actually dissipate that heat. So, it is not a good idea to operate this in the active region. If I want very high heat sink, big heat sink, then it is going to increase the weight of the converter also. So, normally this active region is only used when the transistor is used as an amplifier, which is normally analog electronic circuit application. Whereas, in power electronics, I am either going to operate it in cutoff region or going to operate it in saturation region. So, whenever it is operating in cutoff region, it will be in off condition, and whenever it is going to operate in saturation region, it will be in on condition. So, I am going to operate the transistor only as a switch. So, I am essentially turning on and turning off depending upon how much is the gate current that I am giving. So, transistor happens to be a current driven device or current controlled device. So, what I would see is, if this is my NPN transistor symbol, I am going to give a particular value of IB. This is probably grounded, and what I am taking from here is IC, and what I am applying here is VCC through a resistance, right. If the device is in saturation, I am normally going to get IC divided by IB, which is beta, that will be only anywhere between 10 to 12. So, if it is a 100 ampere transistor device, I will require almost IB equal to 10 ampere. This 100 ampere obviously specifies IC. So, IB has to be 10 ampere, because of which the base drive circuit power capacity is quite high. If this is quite high, I am going to definitely have the design is not simple. This is one of the major problems of this transistor. Because the base drive design is not simple, not much of research has taken place in the transistor. That is why the ratings are still limited. You have the transistor ratings only of the order of hundreds of kilowatt at the most, nothing more than that. Whereas in thyristor, I had already told you that almost 30 megawatt one single SCR can handle, whereas hundreds of kilowatt only one particular BJT can handle. It is not really good, in terms of the power capacity. And if I actually look at the normal transfer characteristics of the transistor, I am going to have VCE on one side and IC on the other side. So, I am normally going to see that VCE is actually equal to VCC itself when the device is in cutoff region. So, this is the cutoff region, right. Whereas, I am going to see that I am going to have slowly the reduction in VCC, and it is going to come to a minimum value. So, this actually is going to be corresponding to VCE equal to 0.7 volts approximately, which is actually VCE saturation, right? And this is essentially the saturation region of the transistor. Obviously, whatever is in the middle is the active region. Okay? This is generally known as the transfer characteristics of the transistor BJT, right. So, under this condition, we can very clearly say that the active region is hardly ever traversed by any of the power BJTs. Either I am going from off condition to on condition, which is saturation condition, or from saturation condition to off condition. Only during that time this active region is going to be traversed. Otherwise, never do we operate in active region as far as my BJT is concerned. But if I try to look at the normal operation of the transistor, I can say probably this is IC and this is VCE. I am probably going to have for a rated IC, right, I am probably going to have very small VCE. So, VCE times IC is going to be the dissipation inside the device. Because please note, VCE is the voltage across the device between collector and emitter, and IC is the current carried by the device. So, the product of these two is the dissipation inside the device. As our IC decreases, VCE will increase. So, I may have something like this, and then again I am going to have probably some portion where I am going to have VCE to be very small, but IC to be very large. So, I would call this as the safe operating area, safe operating area for the transistor, which means within this region I am going to have the heat dissipated, whatever is the heat dissipated within the device, it can be easily shunted out. But if I try to actually load it more than this current or go for a higher voltage, I am going to have a big problem. So, this is for continuous or DC operation. But if I am going to have it in pulsed operation, for some time I am going to turn it on and sometime I am going to turn it off, then probably I can increase the limit slightly. So, this is essentially corresponding to pulsed operation. So, if I am going to have some pulses only, then I would be able to dissipate more heat, because every now and then my device gets some rest. So, in general, whenever we design a transistor circuit, we have to check whether it is within safe operating area of the device or not. That is what is going to actually tell us whether I will be able to operate it safely, right. So far we have seen at least the transistor structure. Oh, I forgot to draw the transistor structure. So, I should say generally in transistor structure what happens is, I am going to have an N substrate inside which I am going to have N plus doping, quite a lot of doping. So, this will correspond to the emitter, this will correspond to the emitter, right. Then I am going to have the P which will be corresponding to the base. So, this will be corresponding to base. So, this is essentially my base terminal, which is very thin. Normally, this is going to be thin. Okay. Then after that I am going to have one more N, inside which I am going to have again N plus, that is heavy doping. So, this particular portion is going to correspond to the collector. Normally we call this region as the drift region. This drift region is going to offer some amount of resistance. The longer the drift region, the resistance will be somewhat larger. So, we had seen so far basic structure of the transistor, we have seen the transfer characteristics, we have seen why the base drive requirement is somewhat higher and what are the three regions of operation. we had also looked at what is the safe operating area of the device. In the next class, we will be looking at the series and parallel operation. We will also be looking at the protection for the BJT, power BJT. Thank you.